Abdelrazaq of Samsung. Question number one, what will be the next technological leap in tall building development?
Well, I think obviously tall building is all about the economies and financial viability of tall building is extremely important. For example, we need to build them to be economically viable, and a lot of times people have questions about that in particular. But in order to make some of these buildings economically viable, there are a lot of things that we have to do engineering-wise and using some of the latest technological advances both in design and constructions. Obviously, right now we also have many new technological advances in materials, whether it is like concrete, like steel, whether this is using damping systems. So whether we're using and ultimately we need to use everything under the sun in order to make these buildings very economical and very viable. So I think energy, what we talk about sustainability is very important. How we make the building, design and make the building more energy efficient is very important. In terms of the tall building systems, obviously the vertical transportation will remain one of the main challenges that we definitely have. There's a lot of research that is really needed related to this in order to make the building a little bit, the vertical transportation system more economical. Life and fire safety, it becomes also the channel how you get people in and out of the building in terms of major events, how you evacuate them. These are the challenges that that we have today. That the way we look at building, I think we should change the way we look at building in many ways because we have so much technologies. The engineers are not able to utilize these technologies fully.
Is there a single biggest challenge to constructing a mile-high tower? Because that's kind of what you're getting at, those challenges.
Exactly.
Which is the greatest?
Well, for me, I think right now, I think creating a modular systems will remain. And now also, as I mentioned, is how do we make the building lighter, much faster to build. If you make the building heavy, it becomes very difficult to build it. And at this moment, what we need to building are made, we need to minimize their weight, which means that we also need to develop systems that the modular system construction that makes it faster to build.
Has the role of a tall building engineer in any discipline changed very much in the recent past?
Well, well, I think I believe the role of the structural engineer or the engineers have shifted a lot. And we engineers, whether it depends on what engineer you talk to and how familiar they are with the latest technological advances in material design constructions. And what we are seeing right now is actually divorce in some sense. Even though we have some of the most sophisticated tools related, for example, BIM and related to analysis program, computer-generated program, integrated building system. But I've been in the industry for a long time, not only from design, but from a construction perspective. And in fact, we're seeing the quality is being reduced. So if I get a building that was done about 20 years ago and look at the construction document, they are much better quality than we are seeing today. So I think with this computer age, in some sense, is great, but at the same time, we're running into huge challenges. The question is not who's designing it, the question who is building it. Because ultimately the amount of information that we're seeing is so, sometimes so incomplete. It's to move it from this point to that point, it causes a lot of difficulties. And at the same time, because of that ease, people are not really deeply thinking about what are the latest technologies, what are the latest materials, what are the things that we can do to make building more economical and more sustainable. It's still, this is even though we're doing a lot of things, but the way people see things is not necessarily, how should I describe it, is not the best execution strategy that you would, from an integrated way that you would like to see So engineers are not in a nutshell. They run, somehow they are lagging behind the use of these technologies into their design, implementing them in their designs.
Well, you can draw up the greatest plans in the world, but if the execution is bad, and is there a problem with execution in the field?
Not really. I think the execution in the field, you know, how fast you can do it, it depends on the completeness of the design. If the design is complete and it's very good, then the execution becomes very fast. We are seeing, obviously, as I mentioned, you know, we work all around the world, and we look at different projects from different countries, from different engineering background, from different capabilities. But a lot of time, some of these projects are done by international engineers, and they do only schematic or design development, and do not necessarily take these terms into construction documents. And these goes into the contractor, and a lot of time, who is going to be executing these into construction document? And a lot of time, you can see a gap in terms of the original design concept that get carried into the execution of the contract or the completion of the construction document, to take them into the final design. So there are some gaps that we are seeing there that kind of sometimes it does affect quality, it does delay some of the projects.
Tell me, we don't get a lot of news out of India all the time on high rises. Tell me about your super talls in India.
Some of the projects that we have is it's with Oberoi. It's about the multi-use project. It's a very tall building, more than 300 meter tall. I cannot disclose the height or the number of floors.
But it's tall.
But it's very tall, and it's a very tall residential tower and a multi-use office and hotel, and a very large parking level in a very densely populated area in Mumbai. And we started the project about last year, last August, and now we're moving very fast above the ground, and we just started to take shape on Mumbai, Scotland. We have other projects, other developers that are approaching us, doing the same thing, the model that we created. It was my first entry to Mumbai, and now the client himself again offers another project for us as a design project, because we understood the benefit of having the contractor involved early into the design and the construction process.
Thanks for coming by and discussing your projects. It's great.
Okay.